I believe in failure. I believe in failure in one way, and that is that when you fail, what do you learn from it? And where do you go with that? So it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. That's for sure.
Welcome to Work Inspired, a podcast where leaders in business, commercial real estate, technology, and design come together to discuss change, challenge, and opportunity in today's professional world. This show is powered by BOS, a leader in commercial interiors. The team of workplace experts at BOS is equipped and ready to help you navigate the path to your next workspace. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting out in your career, you're going to learn something new today. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and get ready to work inspired. There's not a lot of things that are certain in life, but one thing that is that we will all eventually pass away. And that sounds morbid, but today we've got a special guest on the show, John Collins, who's the CEO of Better Place Forests. And we're going to talk about an alternative to the traditional burial end-of-life planning. We're also going to talk about passion in career, culture, and the importance of sustainability on the environment for our world. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a great conversation. Work Inspired starts right now. John, thanks so much for being here on the show with us today. So excited to speak with you about what you're doing with Better Place Forests and to learn a little bit about some of your experience.
It's a pleasure to be here, George. Thank you for having me.
So before we get started, or I guess as we get started, the thing that we like to do with every guest is to kind of understand their professional journey, just to set the stage for the conversation. Okay. So if you'd be so kind as to kind of tell us what's your career been like and lead us up to what you're doing today.
Yeah, happy to do that. Well, it began pretty traditionally. I went to college back east. I grew up back east, went into the advertising business for a bit after I left college and realized that it kind of wasn't the path that I wanted to take for myself. And I actually left there and moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and taught skiing at Jackson Hole Ski Resort there, and also was a fly fishing guide. After I left there, I actually started my own fly fishing company, which I did that with my brother-in-law. We did that for about 3 years and then realized we were better at being brother-in-laws than we were at being business partners. And then I actually went a completely different direction and was a professional sailor for about 3 years after that.
Wow.
Then at the age of 26, I decided I needed to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I had always wanted to have a career that mirrored my passions in life. And I have a great passion for the outdoors, for nature, for sport. And so I applied with Patagonia, and I ended up being the Mid-Atlantic sales rep for the company, and lived in Charlottesville, Virginia for about 12 years. That grew into a regional sales manager position, eventually director of the wholesale business. And then I was there for 25 years, so a pretty long time. And the last 8 years, I was head of global sales for the company. So oversaw all the commercial business and different channels for the company across the globe. And it was wonderful because it allowed me opportunity to travel, to see a bunch of different places, and to also really work with a mission-based and value-driven company that was focused on protecting nature and the outdoors. And when I got to a point where I figured I had accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, I actually got a call from a recruiter about Better Place Forests. And what I loved about it was that Better Place Forests ticked all the boxes for me in terms of the next step in my career. It was an opportunity to become a CEO. It was an opportunity to work with a company that, as the company grew, it was doing better for the environment and creating and preserving forests and conserving land. So I thought it was fantastic. And the other part of it that I loved is it was about people, and it was about people in their journey at the end of life. And so everything just has kind of, fallen at the right time for me in life, I guess. It's been quite a journey, but I'm enjoying it. Still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, but I think I'm having a great journey so far.
I love it. I had a professor in college who would always talk about Jackson Hole and Patagonia. Every project was about Patagonia, and he would take every trip to Jackson Hole. And he must have had some sort of spirit connection to you and your past life. But tell me a little bit more about Better Place Forests. It's a very unique and interesting concept. I think maybe one of the more unique ones that we've had on the show. Explain what you do and what makes you unique.
So Better Place Forests is the first company in the US to offer forests as an alternative to cemeteries for people who choose cremation. That's essentially the bottom line of who we are and what we do. What does that mean? Well, that means that we are not a cemetery in a traditional sense, but we provide a place in nature where someone can spread their ashes at the end of life. They actually, instead of buying a tombstone, they buy a tree from us. And a few things happen when they buy a tree from us. First, we protect that tree in perpetuity for that person, so they have an irrevocable license to that tree. That helps to conserve the forest. And we also work with land trusts to get forests eventually into conservation easements, which protect the whole forest in perpetuity. And when you spread your ashes at the base of the tree, we also plant trees in your honor. So we call those impact trees. And we work with a company out of Vermont called One Tree Planted. And essentially what we do is honor the customer by helping to reforest deforested areas within North America. So as I said earlier, the greatest thing about this company is as we grow, we're actually doing better by the environment for each forest that we protect. And the other part of it, which I just have really, really loved, is traditionally the end of life business has been very transactional, in some ways kind of predatory, frankly. And it hasn't been a great experience for customers. And like I love to say to our employees is that there's two value propositions that we have. One is the forest and the conservation, but the other is the people that we have. And we have an incredibly high net promoter score of 85 and above. Our customers love to interact with our employees. Our employees love to help our customers write a better and more or less painful end of life story, if you will. And I think it's really cool because we're looking at how we can take this conversation of death, which is inevitable along with taxes, as we know, and tell it in a way that really honors the person and helps them to write their final chapter in life.
So do you work with people before they pass away? I mean, are you working with people and they're picking out trees and selecting the forest? Because you have a number of different forests to choose from. Is this something that happens as a planning process, or is it more so you're working with family members after someone has passed?
It's a bit of both. So we have 10 forests right now across the country, some in New England, some in the middle part of the country, and then also a few in California and Arizona. And so we work a lot with pre-need people who are planning for their future. A lot of young couples. I think I always tell the story of one of the first forests that I went into. I saw this couple and they were in their 40s and they had just picked their tree and they had big smiles on their face and they went and they had a picnic in the forest afterwards. So something you probably don't often see at a cemetery. Sure. But so we have a lot of people that are planning and want to take the stress off of their family members in the future and just make sure that they've got that part of their life settled. We also work with families who are at need, meaning that someone has either passed or is terminally ill and they're looking for that final resting place. So we work with families also that have had ashes, say, on a shelf or a mantle and want to have a permanent place that they can place their ashes, that they can go and visit. And obviously the beauty of the forest helps that. It's a great place for people to come back to and have a peaceful moment to celebrate their family and their life.
I love that. And this is going to illustrate my lack of knowledge on trees, but the couple in their 40s, how long do the trees live? I mean, is it if someone picks out a tree that early in life, is there a chance they outlive the tree they picked?
Well, hopefully not. And, it depends on the species, but a lot of the species that we deal with, like, for example, redwoods, they live a very long time and they'll live through generations. But one thing that I've seen, which I thought was really cool, is that it's almost a little bit of a Harry Potter moment where they say the wand picks the wizard, but a lot of times the tree picks the customer. And they walk through the forest, they take the time to spend to see what they love. Sometimes it's a crooked tree, sometimes it's a small tree, sometimes it's a stump, believe it or not. But something speaks to them in the process. And I think of one of our customers in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, wonderful woman, she's a third grade school teacher in her 40s, and really just wanted to be part of the story that we were telling. And she found a younger tree. And the way that she thought about that tree was that tree is going to grow through time. It's going to get bigger. It's going to carry on her legacy after she passes. And while she's alive, she's already come back and visited it 3 or 4 times, and she wants to continue to visit it to watch it grow through life. So pretty cool kind of stories. But I would tell you that we have people who come and will buy a redwood at full size, or they'll buy a young sapling as well.
It's cool. It's very cool. Let's take a step back, though, or not really back, but
Sure.
focusing on your career path. And I want to talk more about Better Place Forests and where you're headed. But
Sure.
you have picked a path that is, like you said, it's full of passion. You're doing good work. You're contributing to the environment. You're providing a service that does great things for people. Talk a little bit about that, because you said you started off in the advertising space, and being part of an ad agency or being in marketing might sound like a cool thing when you're in college, and maybe that's the direction some people are taking, and that's probably right for many people. But
Right.
talk about how you knew that working at a company like Patagonia, or making that next step in your career to being the CEO of Better Place Forests, how did you kind of follow your heart, or know that was what was right for your journey? I'm really interested in that, because it sounds like you've got a pretty clear vision of your path and passion.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, 2 things, and I actually get an opportunity to speak to a lot of college students as well. And what I tell them is that every experience that you have after school and as you're developing your career path in life is going to be a great experience. So don't underestimate the power of each one of those experiences. But those experiences also have to come into context with your life and your own life's journey. And I think what happened to me, and I know people in the advertising business that are fantastic and love it and will do it for the rest of their life, and they will smile and run up the stairs 2 at a time every day. And that's fantastic for them. It just wasn't right for me. And what I believe and felt was that I wanted something that was always adjacent to my passions, right? Something that gave me a moment to say, what kind of legacy am I going to leave my family, my kids, and how I'm going to impact the world in a more positive way. I wouldn't say that when I went to Patagonia, I first went there because of the environmental mission, but I will tell you that became a significant part of my journey as I moved through the business. Mm-hmm. And then my journey kind of evolved into something where I realized that capitalism in general and business in general needed to take a shift, where companies began to take responsibility, because governments and NGOs and charities, as wonderful as they are, don't move fast enough and don't change the way that people think in the world as quickly as businesses do and brands do. So really good brands like a Nike or a Patagonia, they stand for something greater than just product. And so I just felt that for me, that was where my journey was going to evolve to. And I wasn't going to leave Patagonia to sell widgets or clothing or anything else anywhere else, unless I found a company that had those same type of values and that I could make a difference at. And that was Better Place Forest.
It's cool. We talk a lot about culture and finding the right people. And I think there's a connection or a bridge between what you just said with passion and purpose, and those 2 really important elements of an organization. So tell me a little bit more about the culture you have at Better Place Forests, and how do the right people for your team find you, or do you go out and find them? I'm really interested to know, because it seems like you're a very strong mission-driven organization. How do you cultivate that culture? Is it your vision down? Is it finding the right group of really passionate individuals? Talk a little bit about that.
I would say it's a little bit of both in terms of how we find people. What I know is that some people come to mission-based businesses. Everybody has a different reason. And at Better Place Forest, we call it your why. What is your why? And for some people that are with us, it's because they've had an experience with death in their family, and they've had experience either in the end-of-life industry, and they want to do something better for people, and they want to create a better experience. Others, it's very much about the environment and about the mission that we have around protecting trees and forests. So it depends on your why, is first and foremost. But I would say a lot of people that I speak to when I'm recruiting or looking for new executives on the team is people that have been either in a mission-based company before or have completed that first part of their career journey and now have decided, hey, I want to do something more important. I want to do something that gives back. So it's a little bit of both. What I will tell you is, man, I mean, when people have asked me the best part of my time at Patagonia, it was the people, frankly. I mean, the passion, the people, the fun, the stories, the energy. And I found that to be very much the same when I came to Better Place Forest. I was so excited about the group of people that were there, a lot of very young people who want to do something better and do something different. And that's just been incredible. So I would say, to answer your question more fully, culture is a combination of the parts that you have, then providing the context for your employees. And you have to really believe in your culture. If a company is saying that one thing and doing another, the culture is never going to work. But if you stick to what it is that you believe and you really drive the business forward through your passion and through your mission, it's real. And employees really appreciate that.
It's awesome. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's interesting talking to leaders like you at organizations like yours. It's very transparent, like the why, the benefit, the impact, the connection between someone working for the reasons you just said and the output that the organization has. It's interesting at other organizations where maybe it's not so directly tied to what the company does, where the culture conversation gets a little trickier. But I think any organization can learn a lot from very clearly mission-driven organizations like yourself. And I'm interested, whether it was your time at Patagonia or what you've done so far and what you have planned for Better Place Forests, has that kind of impacted your style as a leader? As kind of at the head of the steering the ship, do you put kind of culture first when you're making decisions, or is it something like when you said it depends on the why for our people?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard it presented that way. It's usually the why for the organization, right? But I like thinking about it like that because you're right. There could be people coming to work for you for numerous different reasons.
Sure.
And that diversity maybe makes a lot of sense for an organization. So how do you kind of how do you from a leadership perspective, how do you kind of find the right balance or keep the team moving in a unified direction?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Yeah, I'm learning. I've like I said, had a lot of experience leading different parts of the organization in the past and growing companies around the world, within the Patagonia brand. But when you come here and when you're sitting in that seat for the first time, which I am, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the people and what motivates them. And I do think that the mission aspect of the business really does help to motivate people. But I also think it's really important, and I tell the team this all the time, is that we've got to get the business part right first. We have to make sure that we're providing great service and a great product and telling a great brand story. Because if we don't do that, then the mission itself never gets the scale or the impact that it deserves to get. And it doesn't make a difference in the world to the degree that we would want it to. So, as I look out into the future about what we're going to be and hope to be, it would be a great end of life hub for people that also want to make a difference for the planet. And, but that comes to providing an amazing end of life experience, right? So we've got to focus on that business piece. But, if you don't have that, I like to call it the red thread, right? The red thread of the story and the brand and the mission to drive you. Sometimes that just becomes, I would say, a slog is really the way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And like any business, we have our days, we have our moments. We're not perfect. We go through lots of change and we go through lots of challenges like anybody else. And I'm sure there's days when I leave the office more frustrated than not. But at the same time, it always comes back to, do I want to get up in the morning and come here and make a difference? And I think I really have experienced, honestly, George, I'm not making this up. I just experienced that the employees are like that too. They just want it to work, and they're excited about it. And being a startup, in our we're through our C round of funding, but being a startup even makes that even more exciting, right? Because we're doing something different. We're doing something that nobody's ever done before. And how can we make that special? And that's another part of it that I think brings a lot of energy to the team.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about startup and high energy. You think about startups and you think about fast growth and you think about speed and agility. And then I think about a forest or a tree growing and I think about, well, this is going to take a long time, or permanent. So as you think about the future of your business, let's say 10 years from now, what's your vision?
Oh, man. I think first and foremost, as I said, being a central end of life hub for people, and being a trusted organization. One of the first things that I told the team when I came here is I wanted to build our awareness first and our trust at the same time, because we have so much to offer people and they have so much to offer us. We learn from our customers. We actually become part of their story. And that's so important to who will be in a brand. So if we can continue that into the future, I'm going to define that as one type of success. The other type of success is right now we have a little over 1,000 acres under protection. And I really want that to be 100,000 acres or maybe 1 million acres at one point. That coupled with the reforestation, we planted over 225,000 trees in honor of our customers last year. Amazing, right? And I look at two things when I look at the environmental crisis that we have in the world right now, particularly around climate change. A lot of people talk about emissions, so they buy electric cars or they reduce their coal output. But really, there's a second part of that, which is the sequestration of carbon and pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. And old growth forests are one of the absolute best ways to do that. So for us, we're part of the solution, not only for their end of life planning, but also for the environment. So that's where I see success.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously sustainability is a top, I hate saying trend because trends seems not permanent. It's so important right now and it will be in the future. Lots of organizations are thinking it through. Yours is a B2C model, I'd say. You're talking with people planning their end of life experience or journey. As an organization, you just threw out acreage or number of trees planted, and those things seem so tangible. Like when you talk about that many trees planted or that many acres preserved, that seems like it's going to have a real impact on the environment and something that people could kind of grasp the impact of, right? Yeah. Do you work with organizations at all? Is the only way to kind of sponsor a tree or to have a tree in your remembrance? Is it only if you're an individual that's planning it as kind of like as a memorial to my end of life, or can a company also purchase a section of a forest or sponsor a section of a forest or get involved somehow? Is there an opportunity for someone to say, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to do a tree, and I'm not really going to connect it to my end of life experience because maybe I have other plans for that, but I want to be part of this forest myself. Can that happen?
Well, currently, so I would say the most, the closest parallel to what you're speaking about is we've entered into a partnership with the Arizona ASNA, it's the Arizona Nurses Association. And the greatest thing about that is we're actually putting a memorial area in the forest that honors all of the healthcare workers in Arizona that passed away due to COVID while they were fighting the pandemic. So for us, that's a wonderful moment. That's a wonderful way to honor those people, and also to have a place that those healthcare workers can go together and celebrate each other, whether they're visiting or whether they choose that as their end of life place. We have talked about things like having companies name trails or to help us be part of this journey. And I don't think we've put anything together that's really official on that yet, but it's definitely something that we've talked about. When I think about businesses like ours, the other thing that I think about is that if we show that we're profitable, if we show that we're successful, if we can bring this business to scale, I also hope that we can do more for grassroots environmental groups that are out there, and also inspire other businesses to understand that it doesn't have to just be about a single bottom line, and that a double bottom line is really something that can be super impactful and effective for any company. So
I love that, the double bottom line. Very cool. Tell me a little bit, or tell our listeners, I guess, where can they go to learn more about the services that you provide, and to get more information?
Betterplaceforest.com is our website. And within our website, you can actually call and take an online tour of your forest. We have some great technology where we can actually take you through our forests online. It also shows you the different locations of our forests, and we would love for people to come and visit our forests. We're going to have a series of open houses that start this month that'll go through probably October. We are forests, so some of the locations that we have in the wintertime, we do have access, but it might be a little harder for some. Although some people, want to come and snowshoe through the forest or visit it at a time that is meaningful to them. So we're looking to continue to grow people's access to our forests across each one. Under betterplaceforest.com, there's also content and videos that will tell you a little bit about more of what we do and how we do it. Some of the stories from our arborists and from the forest stewards and guides that we have. So there's a lot of great content that we're building and putting into that site as we move forward.
Cool. Well, it's an awesome idea. I love it. I enjoyed the time I spent on your website, and I think I'm in Chicagoland. I'm not sure. There is an Illinois forest, I believe. So
yes,
are your forests open? Are they open to the public? People can go and visit them and walk through them?
Yes. So really what we have right now is we're working on scheduling for open houses. And the reason that I say that is that sometimes we have memorials that are going on, and we just want to limit the traffic, out of respect for the families that are having memorials. And there are certain days too where we're doing forest maintenance or cleanup, and probably just best. So if you go online, or even if you don't see something online, you can call us and we'll let you know a great day to visit a forest in your area. But yeah, we do have one right outside of Chicago in Rock River, Illinois.
Yep. Very cool. John, I like to kind of finish up each conversation with some personal questions, and whether they're business focused or personal, it's up to you. But tell me something you're looking forward to in the next 12 months.
Oh, in the next 12 months. From a business focus, it's really about just awareness and more people knowing what we do. There's a tremendous trend going on in the world right now where back in the 70s, maybe 4 to 5% of people chose cremation. And now it's up to 56%, I think. And they say by 2040, it'll be 80% of people choose cremation. So
wow.
With that and the environmental mission, we have something to offer people that are choosing cremation for their end of life time. So more people that know about that, and the more people that know about who we are and the authentic way that we approach this, I'm really looking forward to that. And I know that'll be bigger in 12 months than it is now. And I'm really pleased with all the people that we've made happy to date. On a personal level, I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old is a passionate young equestrian. So I'm looking forward to her doing more horse shows. And my 11-year-old is a heck of a little golfer. So looking forward to have him, continue his passions as well.
That's awesome. Can you recommend a resource that's been beneficial to you in your career, whether it's a book or a podcast, a group? Is there something that you can share with others?
There's a great book that I'm actually reading right now that a friend of mine who was a CEO before I was, called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And I think it's Ben Horowitz is the author. And it's just a great, I think, lesson from somebody who's been in this type of seat before. There are, other books and podcasts I can't even think about it. I went back and actually got my MBA in 2010. So, I really love education. I really love to continue to learn as I move forward in my business. And I absolutely recommend that to anybody, even if you're in the middle of your career and think you don't have anything else to learn, you'd be surprised. So continuing education is super important to me. I can't think of any other specific titles at this point, but.
No, that's great advice. And final question, let's say you were retiring tomorrow, which I know you've got lots of plans and have no no plan to do that. But what's some words of it?
Grayer.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot ahead of you for Better Place Forests and all the awareness and all the cool things that you're doing and all the impact that you're making. By the way, thank you for the good work that you're doing. What's a word of it, wisdom, some words of wisdom or advice that you leave behind to your team if you were retiring today or tomorrow?
Oh, enjoy the journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody talks about goals and talks about objectives and I take this away actually from Patagonia. I can't take credit for this, but Yvonne always talked about the Zen Archer approach, which is the unaimed arrow seldom misses, which means that if you do everything right in the process and you work the process and you work the mission and you work, your strategies as a company, you'll get to where you need to get to. And the other thing is, be patient. Be patient because it takes time. And everybody wants something yesterday. And, you need to take a breath. And you need to understand that business does need to move fast and you need to stay ahead of the competition. There's no question about that. But at the same time, it is a journey and take those pieces that you learn along the way and use them to be better the next time. I tell the folks at Better Place that, I think when I got here, there was this idea that everything had to be executed on perfectly. And, I believe in failure. I believe in failure in one way, and that is that when you fail, what do you learn from it? And where do you go with that? So it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. That's for sure.
Well, I can't thank you enough for the time today. I think you've given our listeners quite a bit to think about, whether it's following their passions and what they're doing with their careers and where they're spending their time, and then also what they're planning for maybe down the road towards the end of life. So I can't thank you enough, John, for your insight and your inspiration. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
It's been my pleasure, George. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to rate our show. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Work Inspired podcast so that you don't miss any of the incredible guests we have planned for upcoming episodes. We'll continue to find the best and brightest minds in business so that you can learn, grow, and succeed, and so that we can all work inspired. Work Inspired is brought to you by BOS, a leader in commercial working environments and a Hayworth best-in-class dealership. Experience our 360 approach and discover the team, tools, and techniques required to navigate the complexity of your next workspace at BOS.com. If you have ideas, feedback, or would like to be featured on our show, please email podcast@BOS.com. Thank you for listening. This has been a Workspace digital production. If you're interested in launching a podcast at your organization, please email info@workspace.digital for a free consultation.